Elise Marwood had always found solace in the scent of fresh flowers, a comforting constant in her life as a 40-year-old florist in Seattle. Her shop, Blooming Haven, was a haven not just for her customers, but for her. A space she'd built from scratch over a decade ago, filling it with vibrant bouquets and loyal clients. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon in May 2025, and Elise was arranging a bouquet of peonies for Mrs. Carter when her phone buzzed with a text that would change everything. The message was from her husband of 15 years, Daniel. "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 22-year-old girlfriend, Chloe. I've already emptied our joint account. Ha ha, good luck." Elise's hands didn't tremble as she read the cruel words. Her voice steady as she handed Mrs. Carter the bouquet, wrapped in Blooming Haven's signature lavender paper. "These will brighten your day," she said with a smile, though a slight tightening around her hazel eyes betrayed the storm brewing inside. Daniel's callous goodbye, delivered via text while she worked, was a gut punch. But Elise didn't crumble. She waited until Mrs. Carter left, the shop's bell jingling softly, before locking the door and flipping the closed sign. Only then did she allow herself a deep breath, her mind racing but her resolve unshaken. The signs of Daniel's betrayal had been there for months, though she'd hoped she was wrong. His late nights at the advertising firm where he worked never matched his pay stubs, and he'd suddenly changed the password on his phone, claiming it was a security measure. Then there was the gym obsession, new clothes, protein shakes, and a desperate attempt to reclaim the youth he felt slipping away at 47. Elise had ignored her gut at first, chalking it up to a midlife crisis. But 3 months ago, a receipt for a candlelit dinner at a swanky restaurant on a night he'd claimed to be working late confirmed her suspicions. Daniel was cheating, and now he'd made his exit as cruel as possible. But Elise wasn't the crumbling wife Daniel likely imagined as he sent that text, gloating over his grand escape. She'd been preparing for this moment. After finding that receipt, she'd opened a separate bank account at a different bank, quietly transferring her personal savings while leaving just enough in their joint account to avoid suspicion. About 2 months' worth of regular deposits. Daniel had taken the bait, emptying the joint account without realizing the bulk of their funds were safely tucked away, along with records of every suspicious transaction he'd made over the past year. Elise had always been meticulous, a trait Daniel mocked as overly cautious. But now it was her shield. She pulled out her phone, ignoring another buzz from Daniel, and texted her lawyer, Samantha Reed, whom she'd consulted weeks ago after discovering hotel charges on their joint credit card. "It's time," Elise wrote simply. No, Samantha's reply was immediate. "The papers are ready. I'll file them tomorrow. Do you want him served in Miami?" Elise thought for a moment, then typed, "No rush. Let him think he's won for now." She knew Daniel's ego would be his downfall. He'd assume she was broken, begging for him to return, while she was already 3 steps ahead. As Elise locked up Blooming Haven, the Seattle rain pattering against the shop's windows, she felt a strange calm. Daniel's text was meant to devastate her, but instead, it had set her carefully laid plans in motion. She wasn't just a scorned wife, she was a businesswoman who'd protected her future. Blooming Haven, the shop Daniel had always dismissed as her little hobby, was about to become the cornerstone of her new chapter. While Daniel dreamed of Miami with his young girlfriend, Elise was ready to fight for the life she'd built and win. Elise Marwood had always trusted her instincts, a skill honed over years of running Blooming Haven, her thriving Seattle florist shop. That rainy Thursday night in May 2025, as she locked up after Daniel's devastating text, her calm demeanor masked a mind already at work. The message, "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 22-year-old girlfriend, Chloe. I've already emptied our joint account," haha, was a betrayal she'd anticipated for months. Elise wasn't blindsided. She'd been preparing for this moment with the same care she gave her floral arrangements. Today we'll uncover how her foresight, sparked by subtle clues, set the stage for her to protect her life and business from Daniel's reckless exit. It all began 3 months earlier when Elise found a crumpled receipt in Daniel's jacket pocket. It was for a dinner for two at the Waterfront Bistro, a pricey Seattle restaurant, dated for a night he'd claimed to be working late at his advertising firm. The amount, $150 for wine and steak, didn't match his usual takeout excuses. Her stomach sank, but instead of confronting him, Elise watched and waited. Over the next weeks, she noticed more signs. The late-night gym sessions that left him exhausted but oddly energized. The new cologne he wore, and the way he guarded his phone like a secret. Each clue built a picture of infidelity, and Elise knew she needed to act. Her first move was financial. That same week, she opened a separate account at a small bank across town, discreetly transferring her personal savings, nearly $50,000 from years of Blooming Haven profits, while leaving the joint account intact with just enough to keep Daniel from suspecting anything. When he suggested combining their accounts to simplify things, Elise agreed cheerfully, masking her unease. She'd always kept Blooming Haven's finances separate, a decision born from her grandmother's advice to never mix business with personal messes. Now, that choice shielded her from Daniel's impulsive grab at their joint funds, which held only 2 months' worth of deposits, enough to look normal, but not enough to hurt her. Elise's next step was legal. After finding hotel charges on their joint credit card, $300 at the downtown Marriott on a weekend he'd claimed was a work trip, she contacted Samantha Reed, a sharp divorce lawyer recommended by a friend. Samantha advised her to gather evidence and prepare papers in advance. Elise spent nights after closing Blooming Haven documenting every suspicious transaction. The dinner receipt, the hotel charges, ATM withdrawals she couldn't trace. She also screenshot Daniel's social media posts, where he'd bragged about reclaiming his youth with gym selfies. Each piece was filed in a folder labeled Protection, a quiet rebellion against the man who thought her cautious nature was a weakness. Her business became her anchor. Blooming Haven, with its cedar-paneled walls and scent of roses, was Elise's creation, built from a $10,000 loan she'd repaid in 3 years. Daniel had called it her cute little side gig, never grasping its $100,000 annual profit. She'd kept it in her name, reinvesting earnings into new stock and staff, ensuring no marital entanglement. As Daniel's texts grew more frequent, taunting her with lines like, "Chloe gets me in ways you never did," Elise focused on her shop, arranging tulips for a wedding order while plotting her next move. Her hands moved with precision, a mirror to the strategy unfolding in her mind. That night, after locking up, Elise called Samantha again. "He's made his move," she said, her voice steady. "The papers are ready," Samantha replied. "I'll file tomorrow. Serve him in Miami?" "Not yet," Elise said. "Let him enjoy his victory lap." She knew Daniel's ego would blind him to her preparations. He'd assume she'd beg or break, not outmaneuver him. With her savings secure, her business intact, and her evidence growing, Elise was ready to let Daniel's actions unravel his own plans. As the rain tapped against her shop's windows, she poured a cup of chamomile tea, her mind clear. Blooming Haven wasn't just her livelihood, it was her fortress, and she'd defend it with every petal. Elise Marwood's quiet strength had turned the tables on Daniel, her husband of 15 years, whose hasty exit to Miami with his 22-year-old girlfriend, Chloe, was about to hit a wall. It was late Thursday night, May 22nd, 2025, in Seattle, and as Elise sipped chamomile tea in her locked Blooming Haven shop, she took decisive action. Daniel's text, "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 22-year-old girlfriend, Chloe. I've already emptied our joint account, had triggered her plan. With her finances and business secured, she was ready to let Daniel's arrogance unravel his own escape. Today, we'll dive into the immediate fallout, as Elise's strategic moves leave Daniel and Chloe stranded, exposing the fragility of his grand plan. After locking up, Elise dialed the joint credit card company, her voice firm as she spoke to the representative, Ms. Nguyen. "I need to report fraudulent charges and cancel the card," she said. "2 first-class tickets to Miami, booked today, and hotel charges at the Royal Palm, all charged by my husband after he emptied our joint account." She forwarded the screenshot of Daniel's taunting text, where he admitted to using the card for his parting gift. Ms. Nguyen's tone turned briskly professional, a hint of satisfaction breaking through. "The charges are canceled, and he's removed as an authorized user," she confirmed. "We'll investigate the fraud." By Friday morning, Daniel and Chloe arrived at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, luggage in tow, expecting a glamorous escape. Instead, they were met with confusion at the check-in counter. "Your tickets have been invalidated due to a fraud dispute," the agent said, pointing to the canceled reservation. Their hotel confirmation, also charged to the joint card, was voided, leaving them scrambling. Daniel's personal cards, maxed out from months of secret spending, offered no relief. Chloe's wide-eyed panic was palpable as they retreated to a dingy motel near the airport, their Miami dream derailed before takeoff. Daniel's texts flooded Elise's phone, each more frantic than the last. "What the hell did you do to our credit card? The airline won't honor our tickets. Answer me," he demanded at 9:12 a.m. Another followed. "The hotel canceled too. You're ruining everything." Elise screenshot each message, adding them to her evidence folder, her lawyer's advice to document everything echoing in her mind. His next text dripped with condescension. "You're not getting any younger, Elise. Let this go. Focus on your little flower shop." The insult stung, but Elise's smile grew. Blooming Haven, her pride and profit center, was thriving, and Daniel's mockery only fueled her resolve. Around noon, Daniel's mother, Linda, called, her voice laced with concern. "Elisa, dear, Daniel told us you've been controlling and drove him away. Now you're causing trouble with his travel plans." Elise put her on speaker while arranging a display of lilies. "Did he mention emptying our joint account and charging tickets for him and Chloe?" she asked calmly. Silence hung heavy. Then a hesitant, "Well, he said you left him no choice, that you'd been cold." Elise offered to read the texts. His gleeful ha-ha about the account, his age jabs. "That's inappropriate," Linda admitted, her tone shifting. "I'll talk to him. Take care, Elise." The call ended, a crack forming in Daniel's family support. Elise spent the day at Blooming Haven, her hands busy with a bridal bouquet order, her mind at peace. Customers whispered about her situation, drawn by local gossip, their support boosting sales. Daniel's plan to humiliate her had backfired. His texts, meant to gloat, were now his undoing. Chloe posted on Instagram lamenting their nightmare start with a blurry motel photo, unaware it was evidence of their predicament. As the Seattle rain fell outside, Elise felt a quiet triumph. Daniel thought he'd written her ending, but she was rewriting it, step by step, with every canceled charge and screenshot. Elise Marwood's strategic calm had turned Daniel's reckless escape into a legal quagmire, and by Friday morning, May 23, 2025, the battle lines were drawn. At 12:42 a.m. B107, as Seattle slept under a steady rain, Elise was already awake, reviewing evidence in her cozy home above Blooming Haven. Daniel's text, "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 22-year-old girlfriend Chloe. I've already emptied our joint account, ha," had set off a chain reaction, and now his stranded predicament at a Miami motel was about to escalate. Today, we'll explore the emergency court hearing that exposed Daniel's misconduct, Elise's unshakable defense of her business, and the growing cracks in his support system as Chloe's doubts surface. The emergency hearing was scheduled for Monday, May 26th, giving Elise the weekend to prepare. Her lawyer, Samantha Reed, called Saturday afternoon with an update. The court's fast-tracking this due to his admission of emptying the joint account and the credit card fraud, Samantha said. We've got a strong case with his texts and Chloe's social media posts. She's been whining about their motel stay online. Elise nodded, sipping coffee as she flipped through her folder of evidence. The dinner receipt, hotel charges, and Daniel's taunting messages. Has he been served? She asked. Yes, at the motel, Samantha replied. He'll get the papers today. Monday arrived, and the King County Courthouse buzzed with quiet tension. Elise entered in a tailored navy blazer, her auburn hair pulled back, exuding confidence. Daniel slouched in, wearing a too-tight blazer from his youth-chasing wardrobe, his face flushed with frustration. Chloe waited outside, her youthful glow dimmed by the reality of their situation. Inside, Samantha presented the case methodically. Daniel's text admitting to emptying the $15,000 joint account, the $1,200 in fraudulent credit card charges for their trip, and months of untraceable ATM withdrawals. Your Honor, she concluded, Mrs. Marwood protected her separate assets with meticulous records. Daniel's lawyer, a harried man named Mr. Patel, tried to counter. My client admits to rash decisions, but Mrs. Marwood's actions are vindictive and calculating. Samantha raised an eyebrow. Calculating? You mean prudent. She safeguarded her business and personal finances, documenting his suspicious behavior. That's smart, not spiteful. The judge, a stern woman with graying hair, reviewed Elise's evidence. The deed to her home and shop in her name, Blooming Haven's incorporation papers, and the clear separation of its profits. Daniel shifted uncomfortably as the judge's gaze settled on him. Your Honor, Mr. Patel pressed, Mr. Marwood contributed to the growth of Blooming Haven through moral support during their marriage. Samantha cut in, holding up Daniel's text. Your little flower shop. His words, mocking her business. These posts call it her hobby. That's not support, that's dismissal. The judge's lips tightened. Mr. Marwood, do you deny sending this text about emptying the account? Daniel hesitated. I was just making a clean break. The judge's eyebrow arched. By committing financial fraud? Daniel's silence was damning. Outside, Chloe's Instagram post painted a picture of disillusionment. Stuck in a dumpy motel. Thought this would be a dream, she'd written, tagging a photo of a peeling ceiling. Her followers commented, urging her to rethink the relationship, and rumors swirled she was texting an old friend her age. Inside, the judge ruled, all shared assets are frozen pending dissolution. Mr. Marwood must repay the joint account within 24 hours. Daniel protested. That money's gone. We spent it. The judge's response was icy. Then find a way to replace it? Blooming Haven buzzed with support that week. Customers, hearing of Elise's ordeal through Seattle's gossip network, flocked in, buying roses and leaving tips. Men like that never expect us to be smarter, one said, purchasing a $200 arrangement. Daniel's sister Rachel called, her tone softer. We didn't know the full story. His texts, he played the victim so well. Linda, his mother, followed tearful. I raised him better. His age comments were cruel. Elise listened politely but kept her distance, focusing on her shop's success. As Daniel's world crumbled, Elise stood firm, her preparation proving her strength. 6 months after Daniel's cruel text rocked her world on May 22, 2025, Elise Marwood stood stronger than ever. Her Seattle-based florist shop, Blooming Haven, blossoming into a symbol of resilience. By November 2025, the chaos of Daniel's betrayal, leaving her for 22-year-old Chloe and emptying their joint account, had faded into a distant memory, replaced by Elise's thriving business and newfound recognition. While Daniel's life unraveled, Elise's careful preparation paid off, turning her pain into power. Today, we'll explore her rising success, the fallout for Daniel, and an unexpected moment of closure with Chloe, highlighting Elise's journey of independence and pride. Blooming Haven had become a local sensation by late fall. Elise opened a second location in Capitol Hill, a chic Seattle neighborhood, fueled by a surge of community support. Customers, drawn by word of her story, flocked to both shops, buying bouquets and sharing their own tales of resilience. "I heard how you outsmarted your ex," one woman said, purchasing a $150 orchid arrangement. "It's inspiring." The original shop's online store, launched just 3 months earlier, was gaining traction, with orders coming from as far as Portland. Elise hired 2 new florists to keep up, her business now generating $150,000 annually, a 50% increase from the previous year. Local media took notice, featuring Elise in Seattle Business Monthly as a savvy entrepreneur who protected her empire. The article focused on her foresight in separating Blooming Haven's finances from her marriage, a lesson for small business owners. At 40, Elise felt a swell of pride, not just for surviving Daniel's betrayal, but for thriving beyond it. She framed the magazine cover in her office above the shop, a daily reminder of her strength. Her home, inherited from her grandmother and kept in her name, remained a sanctuary, untouched by Daniel's failed claims during their divorce proceedings. Daniel's life, meanwhile, had spiraled. After the emergency hearing in May, he'd been ordered to repay the $15,000 he took from their joint account but couldn't, having spent it on his failed Miami escape with Chloe. By November, he'd moved back in with his parents in Tacoma, his advertising firm job at risk after an HR investigation into his inappropriate relationship with Chloe, a subordinate. The promotion he'd bragged about went to a colleague, and his reputation took a hit. Chloe, disillusioned by their cramped motel stay and Daniel's financial mess, left him in July, dating a barista, her own age by fall. Daniel's dating app profile, young at heart, 47, yielded no matches, his midlife crisis dreams fading fast. One crisp November afternoon, as Elise arranged a display of chrysanthemums in her Capitol Hill shop, Chloe walked in, her expression sheepish. "Elise, I owe you an apology," she said, clutching a small purse. "I believed Daniel's lies, that you were controlling, that you didn't support his dreams. I was wrong." Elise paused, setting down a flower. "They weren't dreams, Chloe. They were escapes. There's a difference." Chloe nodded, eyes downcast. "I see that now. After the motel fiasco, he tried moving into my tiny apartment, complaining about everything, expecting me to fix his mess. I kicked him out after 2 weeks. You inspired me. You're so strong." Elise softened, recognizing Chloe's youth and naivety. "I'm glad you learned something," she said. "Build your own life, not someone else's fantasy." Chloe smiled faintly. "I'm trying. I'm back in school now, studying graphic design." As she left, Elise felt a weight lift. Not anger, but closure. Chloe had been a pawn in Daniel's game, just as he'd tried to make Elise a victim. But Elise had rewritten the story. Her success, a testament to her preparation and grit. Emotionally, Elise had grown into her independence. She no longer flinched at Daniel's name, her focus on Blooming Haven, and her own happiness. At a local women's networking event, she shared her story, encouraging others to trust their instincts and protect their assets. "I didn't just survive," she told the group. "I thrived because I was prepared." As she spoke, she caught her reflection in a window, confident, radiant, a woman who'd turned betrayal into triumph, leaving Daniel's mockery far behind. 2 years after Daniel's betrayal in May 2025, Elise Marwood stood as a beacon of empowerment, her Seattle-based florist chain, Blooming Haven, now boasting 5 thriving locations by May 2027. At 42, Elise had transformed her pain into a legacy of independence, her story inspiring women far beyond her city. Daniel's cruel text, "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 22-year-old girlfriend Chloe. I've already emptied our joint account, ha ha," was a distant memory. overshadowed by Elise's success and the lessons she shared. Today, we'll explore her lasting impact, Daniel's diminished life, and how her journey became a rallying cry for preparation and resilience. By May 2027, Blooming Haven had become a regional powerhouse with locations in Tacoma, Bellevue, and even Portland, employing 35 people and generating $500,000 annually. Elise's careful separation of business finances during her marriage ensured Daniel couldn't touch her empire, and her online store now shipped nationwide, featuring curated floral subscriptions. At a women's entrepreneurship summit in Seattle, Elise was the keynote speaker. Her topic, protecting your business, protecting yourself, drawing a packed room. Preparation isn't paranoia, she told the audience, her voice steady. Trust your instincts. My ex thought I'd crumble when he left, but I'd already built my fortress. Her speech resonated, clips going viral on platforms like X, where users hailed her as a role model. This is why you never underestimate a woman who knows her worth, one post read, garnering thousands of likes. Young entrepreneurs sought her advice, and Elise often mentored them at Blooming Haven, sharing her story of keeping her business and home in her name. One mentee, a 25-year-old baker, admitted, "My fiancé says I'm overthinking by keeping my bakery separate, but your story changed my mind." Elise smiled. Good. Protection is power. Her legacy wasn't just her success. It was empowering others to safeguard their dreams. Daniel's life, meanwhile, had shrunk to a shadow of his former self. By 2027, at 49, he lived in a small apartment above a Tacoma garage, working a lower-paying job at a local ad agency after his previous firm downsized, eliminating his position. His midlife crisis fling with Chloe ended in 2025, and his dating attempts fizzled, women his age saw through his young-at-heart facade. And younger women avoided him after hearing his story through Seattle's gossip network. His family, once his defenders, had distanced themselves, tired of his excuses. He still blames everyone else, his sister Rachel told Elise at the summit. But you showed us what accountability looks like. Daniel's mother, Linda, attended the summit, her presence a surprise. After Elise's speech, she approached, her eyes misty. "You taught our family a hard lesson," she said, smoothing her floral dress, a Blooming Haven purchase. "We enabled Daniel's behavior for too long, making excuses for his cruelty. He's still in that apartment, talking about his glory days, but we're not defending him anymore. That's your legacy to us, showing the difference between support and enabling." Elise nodded, her heart lighter. "I'm glad you see it now," she said. Linda's acknowledgement marked a full circle, a quiet victory for Elise. Elise's impact rippled further. Blooming Haven became a symbol of resilience, featured in national magazines like Entrepreneur as a case study in protecting small businesses. In her office, she kept a framed screenshot of Daniel's final text before she blocked him. "Have fun with your little flower shop. It'll keep you busy in your old age." Below it hung a plaque, "Success is the best revenge." At the summit's Q&A, a woman asked, "How do you balance trust in marriage with protecting your business?" Elise replied, "My ex said the same thing. Marriage means sharing everything. But sharing doesn't mean surrendering your security. Trust your gut." The room erupted in applause. Her words, a mantra for a new generation.